so insane that it became known as the day the ETH stood still. Yeah, no, just kidding. Ethereum is obviously a volatile asset in the crypto market, and it does not stay still. Just like Bitcoin or Solana or Litecoin or BNB or DOT or XRP or whatever you like to trade. Maybe you trade stablecoins. Guess what? Even stablecoins move a fraction of a percentage on a typical day. And yes, there are people that trade such things. How do you trade a stablecoin? Well, you can arbitrage, or actually more likely, trade between stablecoins if you have fast enough computers to do it with. Because you'll see sometimes there's a difference between, let's say, the USDC price versus the USDT price on any given exchange, right? But yeah, in theory, they're pegged 1-to-1 for US dollar. But sometimes it's like 98.9, 99.5, whatever, you know. Well, a percent difference can happen, right? Sometimes more than 1%. And we've seen crazier times than that. So, anyway, the point is, crypto is a volatile asset that is so volatile that it does not stand still, especially and because mostly, well, the market is never closed, which means there is constantly the opportunity for somebody to buy or sell, right? Which means they are taking an action on the market, which means they are creating volatility. Sometimes that volatility is very low when the ask and bid have no delta between them, or a very tiny delta. And sometimes the ask and bid are quite wide apart, in which case a great amount of volatility. Especially if there are many orders that have a great distance between them. That spread of data of the ask and bid prices, which is spread around the mean of returns, is what creates that volatility. That spread of data, also known as variance, which is another word for data for volatility, is basically the spread of the ask and bid around the mean of returns, which is the standard deviation of returns, right? And that standard deviation of returns uses a normal distribution model, which, if you're not familiar with statistics, if you skip that class in middle school or high school or college, normal distribution is what you get when you draw like a bell curve. If you've ever seen the bell curve in school, where on the one end of the bell curve you have a very small percentage, and then in the middle of the bell curve you have most of the percentages, most of the data in the middle, and then at the other end of the bell curve you again have a small percent of the data. That is the bell curve of distribution, right? And you can see it and create it in many ways in real life, and it is fantastic for using to measure volatility, because data spreads very usually in a normal distribution pattern. Now here's the thing, it doesn't always, or even when it does, it also can fit neatly into other distribution models. And you know what the other main distribution model is that we use in alpha trading for trading? Well, it's called the Laplace distribution model. And the Laplace distribution model is similar but different. So whereas the bell curve is normal distribution, the Laplace distribution looks more like an Eiffel Tower. So that's kind of the difference in the shapes of those distributions. Very much like the difference in those distributions, there's a slight difference in the height of those distributions. However, the first, second, and third normal distributions, which are 68.2%, 95.5%, or 95.4%, and 99.7%. Those are the normal distribution models. They happen to also be the main three probability distributions for Laplace. However, of course, you can measure between them and number them differently. But if you're looking for the three majors that people tend to use when they talk about first, second, and third Laplace distributions, what they're talking about is a 68.2 or 68.3% probability, a 95.4 or 95.5% probability, and the 99.7% probability. Those are the three main Laplace distributions. Of course, there are distributions all the way up to 99.9999% and even higher, right? It goes to infinity and beyond. You can calculate, many distribution levels and never get to 100%, right? Because there is effectively not 100% probability when it comes to figuring out probabilities of things like volatility. Now, what is interesting about using volatility as a distribution model, a normal distribution model, volatility and correlation of the price action, is that together, when you use normal distribution and correlation to price action, you can actually tell with very high accuracy what the tendency will be of the price action on the current candle and even on the next one. How is that possible? Well, it's possible because there are 6 major tendencies that happen to determine with extreme precision what the direction of the price action will be when you look at whether or not the volatility is expanding or contracting or going sideways, and whether or not the correlation with price action is expanding or contracting or going sideways. And that is really the key to understanding how to trade volatility. Once you understand those 6 tendencies, by the way, those 6 tendencies are available in the Alpha Trading Discord for free. Once you understand those 6 tendencies and you commit them to memory or keep them printed out next to you or keep them on a separate screen open while you're trading, you will experience a whole different level of trading success, because you will actually know what the tendency is for the price action to actually do based on leading information. Because volatility, the correlation, gives you leading information, not past information. Again, you're not looking at the price to get leading information, and you're not looking at indicators based solely off the price to get leading information. You're looking at the volatility and its correlation to the price, which together gives you a pair of information, and together are a set of leading information. You can also look at the variance, which again is the volatility in another phrase, in another word, and see what the variance is telling you and whether or not that's correlated to the price, positively or negatively. Same thing. It will tell you the tendency of the price. You can also look at the returns oscillator, which is just an indicator that goes up and down and shows you whether or not the returns are moving positively or negatively, and whether or not they're sloping up or down or going sideways, and whether or not they're correlated positively or negatively, or sloping up and down or going sideways. And the returns oscillator can show you whether or not there's actually a useful and tradable divergence. The divergence of the returns and the price action is actually the most relevant form of divergence. There are others that are also good, like the entropy oscillator, or basically returns is your main one. There's a returns oscillator that we have in alpha trading, and we even give away a simpler version of it, the alpha laser returns, which is incredibly powerful as well, and shows you also the returns oscillating, just in a slightly different form. But it shows you very much whether or not the returns are moving positively or negatively or sideways, and shows you whether or not there's any divergence between the returns and the price action. And the reason, again, that we use returns to determine price action divergences is because you can't get divergence calculated accurately if you're using a price action based indicator like RSI or Stokes in order to determine whether there's a divergence of the price and the price. That's not a thing. Right? It'll be, if anything, an inaccurate calculation, even if sometimes it appears to work. It's just a coincidence. Right? What actually causes the divergence is when the returns diverge from the price action, not when the price action diverges from the price action, or when a price action based indicator diverges from it. Because those price action based indicators are lagging information indicators. And if you've ever studied traditional technical analysis, you'll even know that the quote-unquote trading gurus or whatever will tell you, oh yeah, this is lagging information. And the reason they say that is because they know that it's lagging information. Right? They know that it's slow. I'm not going to tell you it's fast information. It's lagging, therefore it's not useful to you if you want to trade leading information. And the reason you want to trade leading information and not lagging information, although it should be plain as day to anyone, is because leading information gives you an advantage, a calculated edge that you can measure and actually quantify, right? If you can't calculate your edge, then you don't have one, right? And you can definitely calculate and quantify your edge when you use the most highly relevant mathematics that are for and about trading. And those are, again, the mean of returns, the returns themselves, the standard deviation of returns, the variance, the volatility, right? The entropy. All these things, all these maths are what make trading mathematically quantifiable and predictable as much as anything can be predicted with a very high degree of certainty. And the whole purpose of trading with mathematics, as opposed to traditional technical analysis, which is a bunch of voodoo for the most part, is that you want to lower the uncertainty and increase the probability of being on the right side of the trade. You want to lower the uncertainty, of the trade you're taking. You want to increase the confidence level of the trade you're taking, so that you are taking only trades that you are as sure as can be about as often as possible. And sure, you can take bigger risks if you want to, but you don't have to. You can take trades that are just as much, as close to a sure thing as possible. And of course, keeping in mind there is always a probability that things will not go according to plan, which is why when they don't, you follow the 3 steps, the 3 rules of trading. Right? When things go wrong, you limit your loss. You get out of the trade immediately. You don't wait to lose a bunch of money and then wait to see if it's going to turn around on you. You just get out. If the trade goes against you, better rip the band-aid off and get out than to stay there and let the wound fester under wraps. Don't stay there festering under wraps. Get out of the trade. Take as tiny of a loss as possible, if not 0. Right? Number 2. Very often I put this one at number 1, but in this case I put number 1, limit your loss. But it's the same thing, these 3 things. Second rule is take your profits early and often. Right? Really, that's the first rule for me, is take your profits early and often. The second rule is limit your loss. It's not that one is more prioritized than the other. It's just that I like to think about the fact that the most important thing to do is, in fact, to take your profits. Because the more you take profits, the more consistently you take profits, the less you think about losing, and the less you lose, the more profitable you're going to be. But, it is important to not lose money, right? As Warren Buffett said, rule number 1, don't lose money. Rule number 2, see rule number 1. And the third thing to do is, and maybe again, this could be the first one, because again, they have no prioritization in terms of numbers, is don't be emotionally attached to your trades, right? Trade like a robot. Trade as a bot. Robots don't have feelings or emotions, right? They're not born with feelings and emotions. If a robot ever appears to have emotions, it's because a human programmed it into them, right? Bots that trade definitely don't have emotions. They trade according to the maths, and they don't sit there and draw a shark card, right? And yet they win most of their trades. If they're high-frequency trading bots running trades for companies that have massive bags. Why do you think they win most of their trades while they don't have emotions? And you lose most of your trades and you're emotional. You lose most of your trades and you're emotional because A, you're an emotional, irrational human being, and second of all, you're even more emotional and more irrational when you're using garbage, lagging information like traditional TA. Bots win most of the time because they don't have those emotions and they only use the maths to trade. Fortunately for you, you can do the same exact thing by using only the maths. And you don't have to be good at math, you just have to be able to read the information and take the right action. You don't have to be able to be good at math. You can just wait for the right occurrence of opportunity to take the best available trade in that moment. Take the trade, don't be greedy, and take your profits as soon as you hit your target without thinking, I could have made more if I stayed in it longer. It doesn't matter. You could have made more, but you also could have lost, because what if you weren't calculating it right in that head, and what if you weren't looking at the information correctly in your head in that moment, and it turned around on you? When you hit your target, you take your profit, and you rack them, and you stack them, and you rinse and repeat. That's really all there is to it. And anyway, that's why distribution models matter so very much. That's why normal distribution is so popular since a long time among traders. That's why Laplace distribution has been getting increasingly popular for measuring standard deviation bands, from the mean, in order to calculate various things. And if you want to learn how to do that, how to trade volatility, entropy, probability, and statistics, as I often tell you, head on over to the Alpha Trading Discord, which is just at alphatraడింghq.com/discord. Or you can just go to alphatraడింghq.com, check out the website, see all the information we have there. Tons of information there. Tons of useful information there too, useful tools you can use, whatever. And there's a link to the Discord there as well. You can get a free set of indicators in our Discord, including a free chart, and free education, free video tutorials, free everything to learn how to trade this way. Free access to chats with real traders who use this stuff. Free access to the live streams where you can actually engage and ask questions. It's not a one-way live stream like most YouTubers do. This is a two-way interactive, engaging live stream. We do them 5 days a week typically, Monday through Friday, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. It lasts about an hour and a half or so. We cover basically pre-market, traditional market open, and shortly after. So you get to see a lot of action because that's when a lot of stuff happens, obviously. And hope to see you in the Alpha Trading Discord. Again, alphatraడింghq.com/discord. Hope to see you there. That's it. Happy trading.